I think I'm recording. Okay, so of course, virtual reality has become a really big deal lately. We're talking the last 5 years now. Many of us have been waiting on virtual reality for the majority of our life. You know, Lawnmower Man came out in, I think, 91, 92, and it really showed what was at least a preconception of what could happen in virtual reality. Of course, this was a Stephen King, based upon a Stephen King book, and was a horror story, but it was fascinating to see, wow, it's like virtual reality, yes, I want it now. And we had to wait. And so instead we got VR Boy from Nintendo. Talk about a disappointment. I think you had more from the Viewmasters where, you know, you put it up to your face and click it. Oh, look, it's so lifelike. It gives you that 3D impression, and it just wasn't very good. Now we've got virtual reality. There's possibly going to be an announcement on new equipment coming out later this month for virtual reality from Facebook, the Oculus line. There's talk that there might be the next generation of Oculus Quest coming out. So, yay, here's my money, take it. Now, there's a lot of people that are not happy with about, you know, now you have to use a Facebook sign-in if you're going to be using an Oculus Quest. HTC Vive has kind of stepped back from the consumer market and is focused entirely on the corporate or business to business model. So really I guess we've got Windows mixed reality out there as well. So it's really Windows mixed reality versus the Oculus line by Facebook. And those are our only choices right now. I think the manufacturers of virtual reality thought that VR would take off a lot faster than it did, but we've never had that true killer app come out for virtual reality. And I think that has slowed the adoption. Now there's some great apps out there, but are they worth going out and spending $300 or $400 on a piece of equipment? And that's really been the big holdup. Back when computers came into existence, we had a killer app that could justify buying the computer, and that was spreadsheets. Because you could justify to the accounting department why you needed a computer, because you could show them the spreadsheet and they went, ooh, cool. Yes, you can spend money on this. And so suddenly we had personal computers all over the place so that we could do spreadsheets and word processing and look at how much, you know, you could get rid of 10 people and replace it with a computer. And we could do things so much faster. It was glorious. Mail merge and accounting practices and all, you know, it would automatically update what my numbers were on my spreadsheet. It was awesome without having to recalculate the totals. We don't have that for VR. There's not been that one killer app. Now, having said that, because of the pandemic, sales of virtual reality equipment went through the roof. Back in June and July, you could not buy an Oculus Quest or an Oculus Rift. They were sold out everywhere because everybody was like, well, I'm at home. I don't get to go on vacation. I'm going to buy VR equipment and take a virtual vacation, except they couldn't because they couldn't buy the equipment. So it was really a letdown there. But at the same time, now the equipment's out there and people are looking for ways to use it. You know, Beat Saber and Super Hot can only play it for so long. And then it's like, I want something more to play. I want something that is that killer game, that killer app that makes me want to really join in on that. So Alex is pretty good. Some really interesting things. that they did with that game that really take advantage of the virtual reality immersion factor really helps move us in the right direction. But still, we don't have that killer app. So here's your assignment. Come up with a killer virtual reality app. Have it finished by the time you graduate, and then you don't have to go get a job because everybody will be buying your game or your app, and you're the boss. You create your own corporation, your own company. So you got 3 years. Come up with a great virtual reality project or augmented reality. You can go that direction as well. So that's a really popular direction. So last 4 or 5 years, we've also seen the advent of eSports. Now, this kind of caught a lot of people off guard. It's like, really? People will go watch other people play video games? Yes, they will. There's a whole channel devoted. You guys know this, Twitch. It's out there. People love it. It's like, really? I can stream myself playing a game and people will watch it or pay me to watch me play a game. Really? Really? But again, pandemic caused that to rise because suddenly there was no football, baseball, basketball. None of these sports were happening. The Olympics got canceled. Well, not canceled, pushed back a year. Suddenly we had all this, the people that are really into sports didn't have any sports to watch. It's like, well, let's go watch some people play StarCraft. It's like, dude, they're brutal. I wouldn't last 10 seconds in one of those games. They're really serious about it. And then, of course, it's a team sport as well. People are working together, communicating. Now, our top esports I've got listed there, LOL, our League of Legends, Dota 2, PlayerUnknown, StarCraft 2, Overwatch, Fortnite. Those are some of the most popular esports franchises that are out there. Of course, esports combines multiplayer situations. We combine the system where we've got teamwork is required to really accomplish what we're trying to do. And so it really is a craft to create a good esports game. You just can't create a game and then say, well, let's try and make it esports too. You need to plan for it to be an esports multiplayer game situation from the very beginning in what you're creating. And that really makes a big difference. Plus, the computer hardware to do esports is fairly up there. You've got to have a really nice computer system to be able to do everything that's needed in esports. Okay, so that brings us to this little problem that we have to deal with, whether we're talking about film or game development. For years, and this goes back into the 90s, it really became a problem in the early 2000s, that game developers were just simply throwing stuff out there without any regard to who was buying it. The typical AAA, they talk a lot about the typical AAA shoots for that 14-year-old that's playing games. That's their typical thing. Now, why 14-year-old? Well, there's several reasons. They don't have a driver's license. They don't even have a learner's permit. Consequently, they have a lot of time to play games. Remember, 14 years old, freshman in high school. We need to give them a distraction so they leave us alone. So this is supposed to be funny. I can't tell if you're reacting to it. There's humor here, but with the mask on, I really can't tell. Anybody? I'll just move on. Okay, so back in the early 2000s, the ESRB, the game industry decided to self-regulate because they were told if you don't self-regulate, we're going to regulate you. Well, there's nothing like a motivation to be told you need to come up with some standards. So they came up with the ESRB ratings for game design. Now, these closely simulate the same ratings for movies. We have similar ratings for, other than, we got PG, PG-13, things like that in the movies. It's similar with ESRB. So games that are targeted, anybody can play it. Games that are targeting children, special regulations on that. California passed some laws a few years ago that dramatically restrict what can be included in a game that is targeting children under the age of 13. They are restricted in what they can include. You cannot gather data on their gameplay. There's all kinds of restrictions on that. A lot of people say that, it's not the game we're not selling the game, it's the data we collect from people playing our game that's truly the most valuable. That can become a really big deal. Unfortunately, a lot of AAA still target the mature rating, because even though that 14-year-old can't buy it, that's all they want for Christmas. And so they talk grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, older sibling, go buy me this game. This is all I want. And so the mature games tend to be still what is the target, but they got to keep it from going to adult. So that, there's a line they don't want to cross there, because once it gets an adult rating, that's really hard. It really does restrict sales. A lot of stores won't even carry them. The biggest problem we still have is we have a lot of very ignorant representatives and senators that every time there's a shooting or every time there's something violent that occurs, they want to blame it on video games. It has been shown in study after study after study that is not the case. There is no correlation between playing violent games and going out and doing violent acts. But unfortunately, the ignorant are quick to jump on that. And it's something that we will probably still have to deal with for your entire life, because it's an easy scapegoat. We can point a finger at the industry and do absolutely nothing about it. And the senator gets talking points, and old people give them money so they can get reelected. So yeah, my grandchild spends all their time playing those games. I'm sure that's what's messing them up. It's like, no, that is not the problem.